Hey, everybody, welcome back to Off the Wall. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sol.
And I'm Bogz.
And three of us are finally here together to talk about Ms. Marvel episode 3. This series just continues to just warm my heart. This is just such a sweet, wonderful family show. But also we got to see a little bit more of the superhero-y stuff in this one as well. Let's go to Bogz first. How did you feel about this episode overall?
Well, yeah, I've missed obviously the last review. I was a bit gutted about that because I had a lot to discuss. But yeah, last week I did watch Miss Marvel before Obi-Wan. I mean, crazy to think that would happen. You know, if you'd asked me 6 weeks ago or whatever, I'd have never, ever thought that. But I did. This week I didn't, because it was the Obi-Wan finale. I did watch that first. But yeah, this episode, had me laughing, invested. Pretty impressed with a number of things, but yeah, overall another good episode. This is so far, it's not gonna lie, it's my favorite Disney Plus Marvel show so far.
That's high praise. And Sol, what about you? How did you feel about this week's show?
I loved it. I love this show so much. And I was laughing at parts, smiling really wide at other parts. I got a little teary-eyed at another part. It gives all the good emotions just through and through.
So much, just a lot of feel good in this show. A lot of warm fuzzies, and it's not, and that doesn't in any way diminish the other cool stuff we got going on either. It's a nice balance of the cool and the cute and the funny and the awesome. Let's just go ahead and throw her on up there. Now that's it. That's your non-spoiler talk. Let's get into the meat of this thing. We got real quick and heavy into what I think is going to be the plot for the rest of this season, with how Chiron's family seemed okay at first, and they took a turn pretty quick. How did you feel about the turn head first into the plot with how things went, Sol?
They're not related. that was the biggest thing, because like even then I was just like, they don't need to end up together. But the way he was like going on to her in the last episode, I'm like, that's a little weird if you guys are related. So thankfully they're not related. We do find out what they are, and they're Jinn, which kind of like made me laugh because the father, I think in both the first and second episode, like made references to evil Jinn. So then like I was like, oh, these people are probably not going to end up being good, because anytime you read stories, the Jinn are not good. So but the main thing that I got out of it is they're not related.
Bogz, what about you? How did you feel about the turn we took with the family, with Kamran's family and their involvement here?
Yeah, well, it started off in obviously pre-partition in India, which I was super surprised with. I actually thought they were going to show some of the partition stuff. Obviously, that's a big I don't know, controversy around the time, which still has, lasting effects today, which I didn't comment on last week. So obviously a big cultural thing for all of South Asians, really. And, there's people still alive today who lived through that, where hundreds of millions of people had to move across a border, which was set by the British. So there was conflict between, a lot of Muslims and a lot of Hindus, and the British kind of intervened and created like an imaginary line through East India, and basically told people you got to move across by this certain date, and hundreds of millions of people had to move across. So there's a whole thing with that, obviously people, families divided, people turn on each other, your neighbors, etc. So millions of people died. So it's a whole thing. So yeah, there's a lot of history about that. But yeah, I thought they were going to dive into that, but it was just about the kind of bracelet thing. As well, I do get slightly annoyed with that they call it just a bracelet. I wish they call it something a bit more mystical or something, something more impressive. It's just like, oh, this bangle. Sorry, they call it a bangle, don't they? Bangle this, bangle that. I'm like, oh, okay, it's a bit. I wanted a bit more of a special name, but Yeah, the family turned. I kind of knew from, the mother just looks kind of creepy. I'll be honest, like Cameron's mother. So you just know you can't trust her. And yeah, just hearing about, they talked initially, from them being from another dimension, and talking about the whole Noor thing. Noor is something very important in Islam. It's your Noor is like your shine inside of you, your belief in in the religion, basically. So having that, and then juxtaposing that with they are a race of jinn, meaning the obviously linked to the devil or devil worship, that kind of thing. That was a complete kind of shift around, and a complete contradiction of what kind of the Noor is inside you, if you will. So I just found that's kind of really interesting writing, and that they went there, and all the kind of subtleties of adding information about the religion of Islam into the storyline, which I was pleasantly surprised with. So yeah, so it's kind of educating people and also adding a storyline to it as well. So yeah, interested to see. But obviously we saw Cameron is trying to help obviously the situation, but he's kind of obviously conflicted, with his mother and the rest of the guy and the rest of his kind of dimension beings. So yeah, that was also really interesting, clever writing, and yeah, being like super interested in the Norse stuff, which is like the light side, if you will, and then being thrown a curveball with this whole jinn thing, which is a big no in Islam. So obviously, for obvious reasons, but yeah, that's and she was clearly very disheartened to learn about that. But yeah, it was interesting writing, and pleasantly surprised to watch it.
Yeah,
I want to say something before I forget too, because I know last week I said that the bangle, like I'm thinking it's Kree tech, and I think too the 10 rings have something to do with it, like the bracelets that they were wearing, and then we saw the 10 rings logo there at the very beginning when they were looking for the bangle, and so I was just like, was I right? 10 rings? What?
It's kind of a thing me and Soul are going back and forth on now. I think they're in some way, shape, or form going to be a redress of the Kree bands that were used in the comics as kind of the original source of Captain Marvel's powers, not the Captain Marvel that we know from Brie Larson, but the original one that predated her. And I think right now it's kind of looking like Soul might be winning that argument, or it could be some weird combination of both. We look at like what happened with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings in the post-credit scene. They're trying to figure out what are these 10 rings exactly. We don't know where they came from. They're giving off some kind of signal. So I wonder if this is going to somehow, since in the last couple of days, Kevin Feige has teased that the big bad storyline, whatever, the Thanos level event, is going to be hinted at soon. Between this show and Thor Love and Thunder coming out next month, we might be starting to see early seeds of that if these are in somehow connected to the 10 rings and the signal they're giving off. So we'll see.
The big bad is the jinn.
That is the ultimate bad. Yeah. Forget Thanos. That is yeah.
I mean, that's like saying the ultimate big bad is Satan, everybody.
Right, yeah.
Whereas, in DC Comics, he owns a bar. In Marvel, end of the world. We also got into so like I said, so we got to see a lot of family in this episode. Like there was the plot stuff with the jinn and what comes to be the end, but the middle meat of this episode is so engrossed in the family and the relationships with everybody, setting up for Amir's wedding. I loved the wedding stuff so much. It was so fun. It was so lighthearted, and I wanted to be at that wedding. Like that wedding looked like so much fun. I kind of want to marry a Muslim woman so I can have like a wedding like that, because that just looked like an absolute blast. The choreography, the way it was lit. Bogz, I'll go to you first. How did you feel about all the wedding stuff and the stuff in the middle with the family and the friends?
Yeah, so the stuff in the middle was called a Mendi. Okay, so that's it's like a pre-wedding party that happens normally like on a Wednesday or Thursday before, let's say, a Saturday or Sunday wedding. It's when they put the coloring stuff on their hands and their feet and stuff. It's really a girl thing to do. But obviously, you know, the guys are just there eating and celebrating, and kids, you know, kids having a party and stuff. So yeah, it's to like get everyone together and you know, start the families coming together kind of thing. So again, that was super interesting to see in it. And it's a way, like, you know, people put, you start to put your outfits on there, and they're leaning into the wedding and stuff. So yeah, and the wedding, you know, honestly, it's a very, very stereotypical you know, South Asian wedding. Again, pleasantly surprised with all that. And yeah, and the dance numbers, and also the fact that, you know, it's not really, I've not really seen it spoken about, but the fact that, you know, there is a, Amir is obviously a you know, supposed to be Pakistani origin in the show, and he's marrying someone who is a convert or a revert who is African American. And even them addressing that, you know, there is unfortunately a big taboo with South Asians not really, or marrying outside of their, like there is with many you know, races, marrying outside of their, you know, outside of their race, outside of their culture, and for it to be kind of so just accepted in amongst that kind of sweet family. And I've seen a few reviews saying how strict their family are and things like that. I'm telling you guys that, like, a strict level, I think they're about 2 out of 10. Yeah, they're super not strict. So if people think they're strict, they're like, that's shocking. You guys need to meet, you know, other Asian families. But no, they're like really minimum level strict. So and that's kind of summarized with the family, you know, marrying obviously an African American, which is supposed to be what it is in Islam. You know, it's supposed to be, you know, if you believe, then that's kind of main concern. Not if your culture is different, but obviously people, you know, who are cultured, they obviously have that, you know, that affects their decisions and stuff. So it's, again, nice to see. And obviously her family was involved and stuff. And yeah, they're having obviously their little dance numbers and things like that. So I do like the way the show is just, it's just entertaining on different levels, whether it is a dance number, whether it's the action stuff, whether it's the mythology, whether it's the culture stuff. So just a lot of things being thrown at Kamala, and she seems to be handling it all. So just shows that, you know, she's charismatic, and she got, you know, carrying a lot on her shoulders, but obviously her family's there to help her out and give her advice. And obviously I like the imam as well that was at the Mendi, giving her the kind of talk that, and that's what they do in Muslim communities. You know, imams are there, you know, they do their speeches, obviously, you know, sermons and things like that, but they're also there for advice, and there's councils and things like that do that kind of thing, give you spiritual or whatever kind of advice. And again, they're just sprinkling that into the show and educating people, just normalizing it for mainstream audiences. So I do appreciate that. And yeah, and these things, you know, sometimes, you know, this detail is not going to get picked up by some people, or they're not going to understand it. And I just like the way that, and it's not going to be for everybody. And I totally understand that. You know, I believe seeing the viewership, the numbers on this is the least watched Marvel or MCU show on Disney Plus. And I'm not surprised, because it is for certain audiences first and foremost. And I understand that, and I like that. And, you know, it's not necessarily for me, but I can just relate to so many things watching the show. And I never thought I'd say that watching a Disney Plus MCU show, like on a personal level. So yeah, I definitely really liked all the wedding stuff, and until she set the fire alarm off. But yeah, but she had to do what she had to do. So, because yeah, you know, Cameron just stormed up at the wedding. You know, I would have flipped out. She handled it really well. You know, in his hoodie and stuff. But yeah, he did warn her, to be fair, you know, something was coming. So but yeah, I did like the wedding and the Mendy stuff, absolutely.
I think it's great that you mentioned the stuff with, like, the idea of, you know, marrying outside the faith, or marrying outside the people as it is. And it's especially, it's interesting to see it too, because it's clear that they've been together for a long time. So, you know, maybe there was a period of adjustment or whatever, but I think it also helps to see her being, like you said, converted or reverted back, and is asking questions, is taking an interest in everything. Why do we do it like this? Why do they, you know, taking an interest in the history of the partition. You don't see that a lot of time. A lot of times you see kind of these weird blended couplings where one person's just kind of this weird alien outsider that's ignorant and knows nothing and comes across as stupid. So it's great to see that she's taking that active interest in everything because she really wants to be a member of the family. And we saw a little bit of that too. We talked about it last week with Bruno going to the Eid Festival, and am I wearing something too colorful? I don't understand the question. So what about you? How did you feel about all the family stuff with Kamala and the family and the wedding?
Well, to go on like the strict thing, the second the mom let her go to Zoe's party in the second episode, I'm like, she's not strict. She's not strict at all. Like, my mom would not have let me go to a party if I snuck out the night before or like a few days before. Definitely not.
30 seconds after being scolded.
Right. And I really liked, what was the name that you used? That guy that was giving advice. What's the name for
just an imam or an imam or a sheikh?
Yeah, when he said good is not what you are, good is what you do, I was just like, oh, that's so powerful there. Like, just that advice there, and like it made me think, and I'm like, wow, okay. Like, it makes you think yourself while you're watching it. And just everything about the family. I think the family is the best part of this show, because I love Iman Vellani, and I love like her with Bruno and her with Nakia, but like anytime it's like her mom, her dad, her brother, it's the best parts of the show for me. And I loved the dancing, loved it so much, because I love when people are like, I'm gonna dance and be unapologetically myself and just have a good fun time. Like those are my people. I love to be around people like that.
It was great. It gave me almost gave me Bollywood vibes, with a little bit, with the way it was colorful and big and just full of life. And the moment that really got me was, we were talking about it before we started rolling. The moment where it's just Kamala and her mom in the bathroom, and she's tending to her knee, and she's just being that base of emotional support that every mom, I think, should be / aspires to be / what we like to have in a mom. Someone who can just help us clean up our boo-boo and give us a hug and tell us everything's going to be okay, and talk about how weird it is that our brother actually found someone to get married. Like, it was just a great moment between the two of them. And we've seen a lot of the relationship between Kamala and her mother in this show. I was expecting it from the trailers. You're going to see a lot of her and her dad, and we've seen some, but this really is a depth into the relationship of her and her mom. Even that moment on the couch during the pre-wedding party, I apologize. But where she's saying, oh, mothers and daughters, it's such a tough relationship, but Kamala, you're not like that to your mom. And her mom's like, no, not at all. Kamala's amazing. And Kamala's like, yeah, I'm gonna go.
Well, I'll say, about the dad, I did really like the conversation between the dad and Amir in the pre-wedding, where he's addressed like, I've only got 700 or something left, and because these Asian weddings cost an absolute arm and a leg. That's a real life thing that so many people go through, that it's so financially constrained, like shackling almost, that going into obviously your marriage moving forward, that you got nothing left. And people do that all the time. That's a real life thing that for some reason people just spend so much. And it's again, really realistic, super impressive dialogue that they're having. So I did really like that scene.
And it's great because you talk about how you never thought you'd be able to say you find a show like an MCU Disney Plus show relatable for you, Bogz, because of the things that are being dealt with in this show. And I think what's really great is that they're giving those other people who normally don't have that relatability something to hold on to. But there's also a sense of universal relatability as well. Like the moment with him and his dad, my eyes were welled up in that moment, because it's like, I've had that talk, or I had with one point that talk with my dad, especially when I first moved across the country and moved back home. Like, I've had that talk, and it's sometimes just hearing that it's going to be okay from your dad makes all the difference in the world.
And I think I spoke to it in the first review too, that like there's things for people that don't get the representation that they usually like in the Western audience. But then there's stuff like I was like, this is an immigrant story that like anyone who is like a child of immigrant or grandchild of immigrant can like understand these things. And then there's moments like like that are just for everyone across the board. And I was saying to you guys before this that like I was tearing up with her and her mom in the bathroom because she was speaking about all the things that like how hard it was to move to the United States and what she had to struggle through. And all I could think about is my grandparents. And so in that part, like that was a relatability for me is I was like, that's exactly what my grandparents did for me to be here today.
It's a lot of great, powerful moments in this show, in this episode in particular, including one we haven't touched on, and I do want to touch on it because it is very much a part of the plot as well as the show overall, which is damage control sucks, and the moment where they come, busting into the center, that and just acting like they own the place. You can definitely tell that the show is making a statement a little bit more every single episode. They make that statement a little bit more about kind of the way people of the Muslim faith, before 9/11, but especially after 9/11, have had to deal with in the United States and probably all over the world too. I can only speak to my own experience, but seeing them kind of face off with, as far as they know, just the feds, and telling them like, no, you cannot come in here without a warrant just because we're Muslim and you think, oh, we need to go look at them first.
And take off your shoes.
Oh, that was, I wanted to pull my hair out. So disrespectful. That was so disrespectful. I was like,
no, what was it? They were walking in and I was like, put a scarf on. I was like, put a scarf on, take off your shoes.
Right. Just interrupting their meetings
there's
or whatever.
So much wrong with everything they're doing. And Bogz, we'll go to you first. As far as what's going on with, because we've got our main villains in the Jinn, but we've also kind of got the secondary adversary side with DODC. How are you feeling about where that's going so far and how they're utilizing it?
Yeah, so they came in at the end, obviously, to arrest them and things like that. But, just speaking on the action as well, again, I was impressed, as opposed to the action in let's say, Hawkeye with Kate Bishop. And, her winning a few karate tournaments in her early teens, and now she can kind of go hand to hand and beat up kind of street, thugs and gangsters, which really, really, really turned me off on the show. Completely unrealistic, and I found it really frustrating. But with this, I just liked the way that she was addressing, like just running away, using her powers here and there to deflect a push and kind of getting more and more stronger as she sees, Bruno getting hurt and things like that. But really, she took so many hits. She got hurt a lot as well. I just like the way they handled the action, so much more believable from a character that doesn't know what her powers are really or how to use them correctly. And I just thoroughly enjoyed her kind of, and the whole Jurassic Park stuff, hiding in the kitchen and things like that. And I just thought it was super good. And so much more obviously believable, but like part humor, part mimicking other things. I just was really impressed with the choreography, and it just kind of, obviously the feds or whatever, they came and saved them really as Commander escaped. But I did really like the action, surprisingly. Them kind of scenes in these Disney Plus shows I really, really, really have not liked. These new characters being so adept with fighting and things like that, but they did it well. They did it really well in this show.
And so what about you? How did you feel about how all this kind of is starting to come to a head at the end with damage control and the Jinn?
I 100% agree on like the power set thing. First episode, second episode too, when like she's like, yes, like training. She does not look good. Like it was just like she was able to accomplish what she wanted to accomplish, but it did not look like flawless at all. And that's the case too still now when she's fighting. And so I like that we'll probably see like at the end of this season, maybe like her really fully coming into her powers. But I like that it's this slow learning, and so I completely agree with that. Yeah. DODC, bunch of dicks. Like I hate them so
And
much.
also the part that went viral on Twitter showing her
Yeah.
messing up with a kick.
Yeah.
And that's just showing her what she's like as a
Mhm.
character. Like, you know, she tries her best, it doesn't go her way. Or sometimes it does go her way, but she just messes up throughout, and she kind of
Yeah.
fumbles her way through it. And it just kind of, you know, kind of reflects her inner conflict of what's going on and how she's dealing with life and all these new powers and these new issues that are going on.
Well,
Or
I
like
think
you
that
have
also,
Kamran that he can fight, and he's
Mm.
able to, because like you would expect that of him. So he's the one that looks the most agile of all the kids.
Mm.
And Bruno's like, I'm just gonna throw some gifts because I need to protect the girl that I like, kind of thing.
Protect Brian. Like,
Yeah,
that's why he
Brian.
gets my name wrong. On purpose. Yeah.
But yeah, DODC just, they're so disrespectful. And I talked about too still the Latinx thing from last week, and that like I'm still bothered by that, because like Latino is fine. You could just say Latino, you could just say Latina. You don't have to say Latinx. Like going like, oh, I should be saying that. I'm like, please. So
It's good writing, you know.
yeah, from that moment I knew they were like,
Yeah.
I knew they were shit. I knew it.
and I'm kind of wondering, to go off that point, where's the other guy? Where's the other damage control guy? Because we saw him in the tag for episode 1 and in big part in episode 2. And I mentioned in our review last week, there was something about that whole interrogation scene that felt off to me, and I feel like there's a payoff coming later we haven't gotten to yet. But speaking to how she's using her powers, what's kind of neat to me is like, I love the moment where, because she is having a lot of that self-doubt, and there's that moment where she's like, oh, maybe this girl is no good because she dropped that kid, and you know, she's probably bad. And they were like, yeah, but he probably feels pretty good to just be alive, honestly. You know, like, yeah, he fell, but he's alive. Also, somebody pointed out online that I guess that kid was the shoe thief. He's the one.
I saw that too. He was wearing Nakia shoes.
Yeah. Never would have noticed that in a million years, but cool. But again, it goes back to that whole idea of, we've got this. She is not flawless. She is flawed as hell in how she's approaching things. She's not just adept at everything. And she's really reaching out to outside sources, her parents, her spiritual leaders, her friends, whoever, and figuring out what kind of hero she's going to be as she goes until she fits the mold for what she wants to be. So final thoughts. I really dug the episode once again. I mean, they're 3 for 3 as far as I'm concerned. Bogz, any final thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, just on that figuring out thing. Obviously, she's had ample opportunities to ask for assistance from people close to her, and she really only goes to Bruno about any superhero thing. So, for example, with Nakia, she finds out, obviously, you know, she is, you know, what do they call her? Night something?
Nightlight.
Nightlight.
Yeah.
Triple name.
And I think she wanted to tell her too, but then like
she did,
Nakia started talking bad about Nightlight, and she was like, let me keep it quiet.
Yeah. Same thing with her family as well. Like, a couple of times she wanted to tell them. Obviously, she had that scene where they asked her what happened when she got back. She goes, I just can't tell you, because obviously we saw the scene earlier with her mother saying, what kind of mother, you know, is going to have a kid like this once they establish, oh, you know, she's a brown girl, you know, she's probably Muslim. So, and then she goes, yeah, like what kind of mother has a daughter like that? So obviously, you know, she's going to be really hesitant. So you kind of feel for her in that sense, but at the same time, you know, it is frustrating that she doesn't obviously seek their assistance, but obviously she could put them in jeopardy or in trouble, or get them involved needlessly and keep them out of it. But she's going to Pakistan. So by the end of it, obviously speaks to her grandmother, who can hopefully educate her more on the bangle and you know, so the mythology around that, and what happened to her grandma and her great grandma, I think it is, Aisha, and what's going down there. So yeah, it looks like we're going to Pakistan soon, and I can't wait.
And Sol, how about you? Any final thoughts for this week's episode?
Yeah, and her grandmother also said, like, you and your mom need to come. So I feel like next episode, her mom is going to know who she is. So, but I just love this show, and just the stuff that they are taking from the comics, the stuff that they are fixing a little bit from the comics, the new stuff that they're implementing. It's all good writing all along. And like, obviously, it's not my culture or my religion, but like, from what I know of that culture and religion, which is very, very tiny, it seems like it's depicting it really well. And Boggs is saying that it is too. So that makes me really happy that like the depiction as well as the good writing, the good acting, just the good action all across the board. Great show.
Yeah, I'm glad that this isn't just another show about a minority written by white people. Like, I'm glad that this is a show that is really taking the time and the effort to reach out to that audience that hasn't felt the representation, but also is still saying but also having enough there for everyone to relate to and to enjoy, that ultimately there's no one who should feel put off by this show, in terms of there's something here for everybody, and it continues to make me smile and get me excited and make me happy about a character I know virtually nothing about outside of what was in a video game from a year or two ago. So really enjoying this.
Just on that, Mike,
yeah.
before we finish, I don't necessarily agree with that point, that there's no reason for anyone not to watch it. Like, honestly, if I was not doing these reviews, I probably would not have given this show a chance, just because of the really this just the aesthetics of, you know, it's seemingly targeted at you know, teenage female audience. You know, it just did not seem appealing to me. It seemed a little cheesy from the trailer, so I maybe wouldn't watch it. So I understand people in that situation and thinking that. So until I gave it a chance, and I was, you know, pleasantly surprised. So I'm not surprised if people think like that. So again, who are not, you know, even how many people reviewing these shows would have, you know, have never met, you know, a Pakistani maybe before, or not used to the culture or the religion, or even met a Muslim before. So I totally understand why people may be a bit hands off on it. I'm not holding that against them or anything like that, but the people that are doing it, hopefully it's, you know, educational for them. And so yeah, I'm not holding that against people too much, to be honest, because I do understand from a certain point of view, but hopefully they'll give it a try.
I always have to bring Star Wars into this, right?
No. Let me be clear. Like, yeah, if it's one of those, like, because tonally it's a very light, almost family friendly idea of a show, especially from what you get in the marketing. So, yeah, from a marketing standpoint alone, yeah, I think that they've advertised this to one specific kind of demographic. There just happens to be a lot in here for everyone, but you're not going to know that if you don't actually give it a shot. I think once someone gives it a shot, they'll have a harder time feeling that way. And again, not everything is for everybody. I feel like that there's enough in here that if once it's given a shot, more people will find they like it than probably would have never watched it before to begin with.
Yeah, sure. Even if people do watch it, I can still even imagine them not understanding half of the things that they're talking about. You know, they have to Google stuff, and maybe they don't want to. So even that, I understand if you watch it and still don't like it. This show definitely, I agree with that, Mike, isn't for everybody, but I'll take that. You know, it's for people like me. You know, I'll take that.
And I think I said this in the first thing too. Not everything is for everyone. Like, there was like moments when they were like speaking Urdu or speaking Arabic. Like, I don't understand what they're saying, but I can still like appreciate what is going on and appreciate what it might mean for someone else. So like, I can understand like someone being like, well, I don't know what they're saying, so it doesn't like, and it's the same I reference too when it says like speaking Spanish, and like I understand, but other people don't understand what it's saying in like a movie or a TV show. Like, that would be the same thing. Be like, if I don't understand it, why should I keep watching it? So I can kind of get that thought process too.
It's fine, yeah, their opinions, you know, and you know, I'm good. You know, if you either opinion, you know, as long as you're not kind of abusive with it or anything like that. If you know, I'm good. For, against, no problem for me.
Do you guys think that this show in that aspect, do you think this show might benefit from maybe binging it all at once when it's all come out, as opposed to watching it 1 week at a time? Like if someone's having to watch this 1 week at a time and they're kind of getting this stuff pieced to them with such great time, as opposed to watching it all at once and kind of being able to, because there's obviously some stuff that might be introduced that'll be explained later on in other episodes. Do you think one might benefit more than the other?
I think this show's okay week to week. It's not doing anything that I would think would be better in binge viewing. I think it probably get the same reaction whether you binge this show or week to week. Where there's other shows that like you should watch it week to week, it has that better experience, or you should binge it. I think this one either way works.
Yeah, I definitely think week to week is better for this particular show because there's so much in there, content in terms of, just superhero stuff, MCU stuff, also cultural stuff, religious stuff that people need to watch breakdown videos or watch reactions or do maybe a little bit of research. It requires a bit of work and understanding, whether it's a partition, whether it's about Muslims, whether it's about a mosque, whether it's about language stuff. And for you to watch that continuously, you're not going to get a chance to do that. So watching it weekly, you do have the space to do that. So I think, it's definitely a preferred watch to do week by week because it allows you the time for you to understand and take things in and things like that.
Oh, that's yeah. Can't talk today. Obviously, great points. I mean, that all makes a lot of sense to me. But we want to know what you guys think. Again, are you with us? Are you loving this show? Have you not given it a shot yet? In which case, I'm not sure why you're watching this video. But where are you sitting as far as Ms. Marvel goes on Disney Plus? Let us know in the comments or on Twitter. All our Twitter stuff's in the description down below. And check everything else we have going on here on the channel: reactions, reviews, everything, all that good stuff. And until next time, for next week's episode of Ms. Marvel, everything else coming out this week, we'll see you guys soon.